YouTube. Today we're going to be watching this conspiratorial type of guy's video on Professor Dave. I recently found this video and I kind of skimmed through it and I saw some really funny points in it that I really just want to kind of watch and react to. I haven't seen the full thing, so that's what I'll be doing now. This guy was able to turn a 9-minute video into an over an hour video. So I'll make sure to try and cut my video down as much as possible. But just starting off, there are just some hilarious things on screen. He doesn't have dark mode enabled. He has ads. He doesn't have an ad blocker, so that's funny. He has like 20 tabs open, which he actually does use all those tabs, but I will not be doing that. I'll just search it up when I need. Oh yeah, he also has his fucking border like minimized. So yeah, that's another thing. So let's just get into it. Let's watch it. YouTube.
Good old pal, Dogmatic Dave.
Also, yeah, his mic is quite bad. He should probably fix that at some point. That's why I'm using my headphone mic, because I thought it'd be funny if I copied him. I don't know if mine is as bad as his though. Anyways, yeah, it's on his end. You're not crazy.
Professor Dave, who runs the Professor Dave Explains YouTube channel that has a very suspect, allegedly 3.32 million subscribers.
Are you? Is this a joke, or is this about subbots? Are you trying to be real here? That is like subbotting. I've watched some of Dave's content, and it's all like quality content. It's all fine, like, and all the comments are real and everything on his video. So there's nothing that I would point out and say it's definitely botted. So I'm going to assume that you're just joking.
Today, Dave is completely out of his element. I've done a lot of reviews on, and I mean, this is just low IQ, Young Turks, CNN,
Whoa, the Young Turks and CNN are two completely different things. And also comparing that all to low IQ. I do find that some people do have too much appeal to IQ a lot of the time.
We're going to demonstrate in multiple ways, multiple things that he brings up, just how wrong he is, how incoherent message is. I mean,
all right, yeah, and I'll be basically doing the same to you if there's anything you get correct, I guess.
I mean, this video right here is just low tier crap.
All right, then get into the video. We're not even into it, and you're already 44 minutes in, and the video hasn't even started yet.
And you can't hit all the points on Dogmatic Day videos because they're just so manipulative and just nonsensical.
What a character!
But
what a character this guy is creating for Dave. Like this could be like in a world where this is all true and everything. Like even then, let's say I'm a person that doesn't even know anything about Dave. From my perspective, you're creating like this character of Dave, like some type of like scapegoat you're putting all these things on him, you're calling him names, you're dehumanizing him, that type of thing. And I feel like that's not really the best to have like normal arguments with people. Stop calling him names, stop calling him low IQ, just, get to the point of his arguments and move on.
To start, I had hoped to work in this quote from Isaac Asimov. There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread, winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good.
Why does he constantly have his mouse over the pause button? Completely unnecessary, by the way.
Good as your knowledge.
Yeah, as if there's no reason for tons of people in our society to distrust and be apprehensive, shall we say. I'm going to start my review of this video with my own quote from Arnold Reelman. So, who is Arnold Seymour Reelman?
Yeah, who's this guy?
Known as Bud Reelman.
He is using Wikipedia as a source. I don't think I'll dog on him too much for that. I don't think it matters too much. As long as the facts in it are true, who cares?
He once said, the medical profession is being bought by the pharmaceutical industry, not only in terms of the practice of medicine, but also in terms of teaching and research. The academic institutions of this country are allowing themselves to be paid agents of the pharmaceutical industry. I think
this is probably a hard thing to talk about since it's kind of outside of my what I know too much. But yes, in America, our health system and everything is pretty privatized, while in other countries like uh, in Europe, a lot of the time it's you have free healthcare, but here we don't. Meaning, and since we're putting a price on like a basic need, that means that those types of companies have like a lot of power over what they can do. So this might actually be a claim against like deprivatization against the health industry, which is probably a good thing if I were to guess. I don't know if this goes against like science and stuff like that, but sure.
Yeah, there's no reason. There's no reason why random people like me are a little skeptical of, universities and the scientific.
I feel like it's great to be skeptical against like authority, big business, and things like that. If someone advertises you something, don't believe it immediately. Try and do your own research and see if it's actually true or not. Yeah, I feel like that's fair. It's just you got to be careful with that though, and you can't just disagree with everything the authority says all the time. You have to have some type of middle ground there.
Yeah, that's just to wet your whistle a little bit before we get in.
I don't know what point he's trying to prove there, that someone like in the big like research thing is against research thing. I mean, yeah, that's bound to happen. Like, I guess I don't know what that proves.
All the things that scientific communities and academia and all the things they were wrong about. We're going to go over.
I don't know what he would disagree with, but yeah, I can't wait to hear what he specifically disagrees with the scientific community about.
Multiple aspects and multiple topics.
Culminating in a celebration of ignorance. He said that in 1995. Even these two could not have foreseen how bad this has gotten in the 21st century, with people now questioning the shape of the earth and the validity of basic arithmetic.
I doubt they could see how very intellectual, quote unquote, reputable people also say things and teach things like chromosomes don't determine your sex or gender.
His claim was about flat Earth, which, of course, there isn't a flat Earth. And then you say, well, there's smart people that say that the X and Y chromosome doesn't define what you are at birth, which that's which you are talking about gender and everything related to that, which is a new thing that people are starting to learn and argue and talk about. So there isn't a yes or no or maybe thing there, since people are actually arguing about it. Something that might seem simple and factual to you might be like a place for argument to other people, which is where gender is right now. Gender is nowhere near people believing in flat Earth.
This anti-science fervor.
He didn't even disprove Dave's point. He just said, well, yeah, there's smart people that fucking don't know what a male and female is, and then moved on.
It makes us easy to manipulate because any contrarian message is bought en masse.
Yeah, any contrarian message is bought en masse. They're not kicked off YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. They're not ostracized.
Well, actually, Twitter or X now is a great place for conspiracy theories and right-leaning things. There was that thing about the hurricane a bit ago, and that went on Twitter. And I mean, you're not kicked off YouTube right now. You can still talk about it. I think you're more talking about people getting canceled, and that way they're getting kicked off. Like they're getting canceled, not actually the platform forcing them not to say those things. But again, on Twitter, you probably won't get canceled for saying conspiracy theories now. What's someone going to do on YouTube? They're going to make a video reacting to you disagreeing with points you have?
It's just bought en masse. All the conspiracy theorists is bought en masse. No, they're not. No, they're not. Contrarian messages who go against people like the shill known as, Professor Dave.
I don't think Dave is a shill. Do you have any proof that he's a shill, or are you just insulting him again?
Are not allow, they're not, they get ostracized out of academia, they get ostracized out of Hollywood.
You can believe in dumb things, but people are going to call you dumb for it. And I feel like that's fair. You can't be like an astrophysicist and think the Earth is flat. Yeah, no shit, people are going to call you like a dumbass and not want you to work there. Because it's not true, and they all know it's not true. So why are you even there?
The quote unquote scientific community has been on tons of things. How right conspiracy theorists have been. Who Dave?
When have they been right?
I bet a bunch of dogmatic Dave fans, were the same people decades ago or a decade ago saying things like, oh, conspiracy theorists and chemtrails, they don't exist. That's just a conspiracy theory. Chemtrails, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Here's Scientific America article from March 16th, 2021. 8 states are seeding clouds to overcome mega drought.
Yeah, isn't that pretty cool? We have like this thing where it's not salt, but you put something in the air and it helps like some rain come down, like when there's droughts and stuff like that. It's actually a pretty sick technology.
What? The government?
Evidence, claims. Yeah, so what I think the conspiracy theory was about, they probably weren't talking about cloud seeding. They were probably talking about the government putting like shit to like make us dumb or something in there. Yeah, the problem is that chemtrails and cloud seeding are like completely different things. Like conspiracy theories were basically saying that all these things were chemtrails and it's caused by the government. It's coming for us or whatever. But that's like not what cloud seeding is. Cloud seeding isn't like every fucking passenger fucking plane. Like I highly doubt that every conspiracy theorist was pointing to only the planes with cloud seeding and being like, oh, it's them. And we've known about cloud seeding for a while. It wasn't like a secret the government was hiding from us. Like, oh, guys, we can't tell them about. No, we knew what cloud seeding was. It's just that the conspiracy theorists weren't talking about cloud seeding. So who cares about cloud seeding? They're talking about something else.
MIT Technology Review. A startup says it's begun releasing particles into the atmosphere in an effort to tweak the climate. What?
A few things about that is that this is like a startup in 2022, so this probably wasn't very accessible beforehand. And another thing is that they're just starting, and the effects of this probably aren't very good since it's just a startup and everything. And it seems to be trying to combat climate change, which again doesn't have to do with chemtrails. Like the conspiracy, since this is a new thing, this wasn't when conspiracy theorists were talking about chemtrails. This is way after that. And again, conspiracy theories weren't pointing to these things that were causing the things to go up in the sky and being like, these are chemtrails. It's just not true.
Yeah, chemtrails are not. Yeah, they're not a conspiracy theory.
They are a conspiracy theory. You're trying to say that this proves that chemtrails are real, but they're two totally different things. This is not what the conspiracy theorists were trying to claim was chemtrails.
Just a completely different area where the government, doctors, scientists got things wrong. Where
I feel like doctors and scientists, they are on like the edge of like new human things. So the kind of like the point of science is to like try and do new studies to figure things out to see if they're true or not. And so they probably run through hundreds of experiments and like 99 of them are wrong. So they throw those away. Or, well, they don't throw them away. They use it the next study. And then using all that, they're able to, and that one, they get correct. And then that's what they put up and make people use to like invent stuff. Whatever. They're kind of at the point of like human knowledge.
Where we were all taught, or plenty of Americans were taught for a generation, decades, that eggs contribute to really bad cholesterol and you're going to have a heart attack and they're horrible for your diet. You need to limit how many eggs you eat.
Yeah, so I feel like the main claim that eggs are full, like they give you a bunch of cholesterol and they're gonna fuck you up, Yeah, that's probably not true. They do seem to have some correlation with egg yolks are high in cholesterol, cause mild cholesterol level. So it seems to like a mildly raise it to like not a lot, like somewhat. Um, yeah, I mean they have they have it in it like 62%. Wow. Even if like the school system, since we're constantly learning new things and we're constantly growing, we don't know everything right now. There are like a few things that we're pretty positive about, like gravity or evolution or something like that. We're pretty sure that that's true. Like kind of like if you get into like more of the weeds about like what is best to eat when and where you should and what type of diet you should have, those types of things are probably things that we will know more about in 30 years. But you should definitely be taking recommendations from doctors and the education system rather than your homie on the street, because they have a higher chance of being correct. Not that there always will be, but there's a higher probability.
What do you know? They were wrong.
No, they were wrong. With the 1968 scientists, were they wrong there? They were probably incorrect about some things that we will, over time, learn more about. They probably knew more than your Joe on the street, though. Oh, he's making another
It's
tab.
nothing.
Uh-oh, does that say COVID vaccines? Uh-oh, you have a conspiracy theorist about COVID vaccines. What is he gonna say? Is he gonna say that at the beginning there's conspiracy theorists saying that that the government was saying that it's perfectly safe for you and there's nothing that will hurt you from vaccines, and now he's gonna bring up a point that there's like some long-lasting effects from the vaccine or something? Before he even brings it up, I'm going to so the effects that you would have gotten from the vaccine like 5 or 10 years later down the road, or the effects of the vaccine, you would have gotten a higher dose if you got that actual COVID. Another thing is that the things that the conspiracy theorists were saying that the vaccine was going to give you, like, I don't know, autism or whatever that they love to say, isn't true. It's like a very mild, dull thing. But they were saying it was going to give you an autism and shit, and that just didn't happen. Let's see what he actually says.
I just brought up something, just Googled it because I know that this would have been seen as a conspiracy theory literally just a few years ago.
I don't know if it would have been a conspiracy theory to say that there might be some mild underlying like effects that only happen to like a small portion of the population. I don't know if that would have been a conspiracy theory to say. It's just what the conspiracy theorists were saying was much more extreme than what actually happened.
Used in the United States, are anaphylaxis and myocarditis, pericarditis. It has occurred at a rate of approximately 5 cases per 1 million vaccine doses.
It has occurred at a rate of approximately 5 cases per 1 million vaccine doses. That's nothing. It does, of course, still exist, and we should like look at that to like improve how we do vaccines and everything. But the problem is that when you talk to conspiracy theorists, they're not talking about like slightly reforming, no, not reforming, but like improving how vaccines get made and everything. They're talking about not vaccinating their kids and get rid of them. I feel like there's a fine conversation to have here, but like one side is way more extreme than the other.
Administered. I'm sure that's not manipulated at all.
What? You say that's not who's manipulating it? What evidence do you have for that? You can't just randomly say that. Jesus, we have a point that goes against what he's trying to claim, and he's like, "Yeah, that's probably fucking fake." Where's your proof? You can't just say that.
It's admitted now there are side effects.
That wasn't the claim of the conspiracy theorists.
As it relates to your heart, to the COVID-19.
Their claim wasn't that there was going to be some little side effects. The claims was that it's going to give you autism and shit.
For every Dogmatic Day fan that says, "Oh, I mean, it's very rare." Yes. Once again, probably I question the data.
Why? You have no. Maybe if you looked into the data, there was like some weird things that were going on or something like that. But you have no proof for it. You're not being at all trusting enough. I bet you if that said like 100,000 cases per million, you'd be like, yeah, and you know what? This proves my point. But because it goes against your point, you're being like, yeah, that's probably not true.
I question the data.
Persecution of scientists under Stalin was widespread.
Persecution under Joseph Stalin was widespread. One of the examples he uses is an atheist.
Again, that doesn't have to do with his main point, though.
A communist atheist. Religious institutions, the moral, ethical.
You can be an atheist and you can believe in evolution, and you're still nowhere close to Stalin. What was Dave's main thing again?
History to reflect upon. Persecution of scientists under Stalin was widespread.
Persecutions of scientists over Stalin was widespread, which is a bad thing. Who cares if Stalin was an atheist and an evolutionist? Hey, Mr. Quid est Veritas. Did you know Hitler was a Christian, and he believed in a lot of the Christian institutions that you do? And that means that you guys are 1-to-1, and anything that you say is incorrect because you're basically Hitler. It's just a dumb point. I don't know what he's trying to get at.
Because your atheist ideologies are so incoherent.
Not believing in religion doesn't make that a religion. Atheists don't have like the same beliefs in things, but atheists, they're all individuals. We don't really have the same beliefs about a lot of things, other than the fact that we probably don't think that there's a god.
Because you have no standard for morality and what is.
But you have no objective standard to base that off of. Jesus, what are we, back in 2015, debating about religion and everything?
I mean, what you people believe and what Dogmatic Dave believes is so contradictory and incoherent in multiple ways. It's embarrassing. Evolution, contrary to a lot of left-wing public policies like immigration, it's very contradictory.
What?
As a Darwinian evolutionist, you are admitting that based on Darwin's own theory, that there is a hierarchy to the races. So it's not merely skin deep. So you're going to have massive problems when you have different populations of people. There's going to be differences that, yes, it's more than skin deep. Your ideology.
Oh, he's talking about how leftists are like, they're not racist and everything. Like it's skin deep. We're all humans on the inside. I see what he's trying to say. Yeah, but we also believe in evolution. But we also believe that there's no differences between the races. I see what he's saying. Yes, overall, you shouldn't say that someone is inferior to you just because they're a different race. They have some things that are different about them that might be better or worse specifically about them, but that doesn't make them a worse human than you, and that doesn't make them, and that doesn't mean that they deserve to be treated worse than you. So yes, you can believe in those things at the same time.
Because you people also believe in mass immigration.
You people, probably meeting Democrats, like Democratic Party. Not really. Like the Democratic Party tried to actually pass a law that tried to limit immigration.
Yeah, you have a problem. You have a problem, atheist. Your birth rates are way low.
Who cares? If you're born into a Christian household, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a Christian.
Yeah, I mean, you people contradict each other all the time.
I feel like I could say the same thing about people on the right, though, but that's only because you're looking at, like, you could look at someone that's center right and then look at someone that's, like, far right. Those two probably contradict each other. In the same way with the center left and far left.
And who convinced Stalin that genetics and relativity were evil. He denied the existence of genes.
As if being a scientist is what delineates between good and evil. Here's an actual scientist. What is this dude's name? Chemist Sidney Gottlieb.
MK Ultra. I think I've heard about this. This is pretty interesting, and I feel like if this person, for example, was a bit more centered on a lot of things, we could have an honest debate and conversation about this type of thing. because there are a lot of things that the government has done that are pretty questionable and that I would disagree with. And MK Ultra is probably one of the things that we could talk about. But people like him are just like too far conspiracy theorists to actually have an honest conversation about this.
So, what did this scientist do? As if it's bad to promote non-scientists to positions of authority. Well, I mean, as if being a scientist is.
A scientist should probably in a position where they have to do science, if I were to guess. You can easily find a bunch of evil scientists, but that doesn't disprove the fact that Stalin was a dumbass for putting a non-science person in a science position.
I mean, clearly he's going to be an upstanding individual of great moral.
Making you a scientist doesn't automatically make you an upstanding guy with perfect morals and everything.
Oh, you mean places within the scientific community and academia? Kinzer.
He's a scientist. Universities and other science industries are going to fund a scientist to do science.
Psychological abilities destroyed. I mean, he's a scientist, though. I mean, clearly that's what defines the good and the bad.
Who is arguing that every scientist? Who's arguing that you becoming a scientist automatically makes you a good person? Who's arguing that?
We don't want a non-scientist in a position of power.
You shouldn't have a non-scientist in a scientific position. That's a pretty basic point. But I wouldn't hire a plumber to be in the presidential office or hire a fucking race car driver to do accounting. I would hire an accountant to do accounting. You know what I mean?
There's no guarantee Trump will win the election. He didn't win the last election, allegedly.
Did he just say allegedly? I hope he's being cheeky about that.
Could he bring a Lysenko-like figure into his cabinet and begin persecuting real scientists? Absolutely.
As if there's no persecution going on in the United States right now that run YouTube and Hollywood. I mean, this is the dumbest. This is just stupid.
I won't go into detail about Project 2025, but it's not a conspiracy.
You know what he won't go into detail about? How about Project 2030 that ends no-fault divorce? Based.
Based. And no-fault divorce, what is that? He's not defending Project 2025, is he? Talking about how Trump is an authoritarian. This seems pretty authoritarian to me, to end no-fault divorce. Because that should just be up to the person. Why does the government have a say in that? So, not based.
Oh my god, but you know what? You know what Dogmatic Dave won't?
Is higher taxes for the working class based? Is cutting Social Security based? Is cutting Medicare based? What about raising the retirement age? Is that based? What about eliminating union? Is that based?
You're gonna determine this by the removal of private property? Yeah, that doesn't sound authoritarian, Dogmatic Dave. Let's talk about.
I feel like if you go too far left or too far right on both sides, you might. The only problem is that this is authoritarian, like on the political compass, basically, is up and down. Being far left and being far right doesn't have any correlation to how authoritarian. It just so happens that Trump is a more authoritarian and right, and Kamala is less authoritarian.
Let's talk about 2025 and what Trump is going to do. Yeah, let's not discuss Agenda 2030, the Great Reset.
Because this has nothing to do with what Kamala Harris was going to do.
It's a real plan to move America in.
He was talking about Project 2025 and how it's a bad thing. Oh my god. Which is that's true. Project 2025 is a bad thing. Who cares about the World Economic Forum? We're talking about fucking American politics.
Into the first stages of Christian theocracy, and it's already underway.
You're an atheist, Dave. You're an atheist. Define for me your objective standard for what is evil.
Why does it always have to be objective? You can use evil and not have like an objective moral thing or whatever.
This is why atheists get absolutely obliterated in debates when it comes to metaphysics and philosophy.
I disagree.
That's why someone like Professor Dave would get utterly obliterated by someone like Jay Dyer.
Probably not. I think he would do fine.
or, any above average IQ person who
Again, obsession with IQ again.
is decently well read. I mean, someone like me, a nobody on YouTube, I could.
Dave would destroy you, Mr. Quid Estevertes. Oh my god. I am a dumbass compared to Dave, right? And I feel like for every point I have to tell you why you're wrong about something. He would destroy you. I feel like in that debate, Professor Dave would offhandedly say something is evil, and then you would be like, "What moral standard do you have to base that off of?" And it's just like a semantic point that doesn't matter. I would debate you, and I would win.
For what is evil? Why is it evil?
Again, you're arguing about something that doesn't even matter. His main point is about how Trump is like going to be an authoritarian or whatever, and you're like, well, you don't know what fucking evil is. That's not the main point of his argument. You're getting stuck on something that doesn't even matter. That I could probably argue with you about and still win anyways. But why are we even arguing about this if it doesn't matter?
Anti-science sentiment does not arise out of thin air. Science is becoming increasingly more complicated and therefore difficult for the public to understand. And some people lash out due to the discomfort this produces. But more importantly, there are vested interests in promoting this mentality stemming from Republican-funded think tanks.
Yeah, it's all from Republican-funded think tanks. We're not going to get into George Soros. We're not going to get into any liberal-funded think tanks. We're not going to get into the ACLU. Are influenced by their donors.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a problem, like in the government in general, is that we should really break up these big donors or whatever. Which who else agrees that we should get rid of like these big super PACs and these big donors? Bernie Sanders. So it turns out that this guy is actually a far left Bernie Sanders supporter. Are you not going to disagree with his point about things like the Heritage Foundation being like anti-science or whatever?
Yeah, let's completely ignore things like the World Economic Forum.
But in doing so, you yourself are completely forgetting about the Heritage Foundation. His main point was talking about something bad that the Heritage Foundation was doing. And you're like, well, what about all these other guys? What about his main point?
Literate, but actively hostile towards science. Denial of climate change is in the interest of energy producers.
No, let's look at climate change.
Uh-oh, we're about to look at climate change. Also, he said no, which means he disagrees. Yeah, like big oil and everything probably don't want people to believe in climate change because then their money will go down.
There's clearly no reason to question all the policies and the politics behind climate change.
That's completely fine. If you want to talk about some inefficient things that a climate changer is doing, or maybe some money is being pocketed somewhere, 100% okay. But the conspiracy theorists are saying that climate change just straight out doesn't exist.
The funding and where the money goes, and
most of the funding goes to solar panels and shit like that to fight climate change. That's where most of it goes.
How the theory, has changed. So in the
global cooling. All right, let's just hear what he has to say about global cooling.
Oh, this is a conspiracy theory. Oh, this really wasn't that big of a deal. Yes, it was. It actually was. So in the
No, it wasn't.
1970s, scientists, academia, the media, all these people were in many ways latched on to the idea that the Earth was cooling.
No, they weren't.
That's not the only article that was written on global cooling.
There was probably a bunch of papers and stories that were made about global cooling because it was a theory for a bit there. Yeah.
A 9-paragraph story about how the planet was cooling.
Correct. There was a theory at the time where they thought that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Scientific America admitting that scientists and this was actually a thing. Here's the Cato Institute. Oh no, the Cato Institute. Oh.
Who's the Cato Institute? Oh, the Cato Institute leans right, so they're center right, or they could be a bit more far right.
How it wasn't just one little article that popped up in the 1970s from Newsweek.
Yeah, it was probably a bunch of fucking people bunch of scientists that were trying to figure out if global cooling was a thing or not. They were making papers, they were arguing with people until they figured out that it wasn't true. How are they going to continue the research of climate change or whatever at the time if they don't try and make papers about it? Or if they don't try and learn about it to see if global cooling is true or if global warming is true. There was whatever. So let's say that global cooling was like a thing that scientists believed in for 30 years. People would figure out, oh, that's probably not true. They would do more science about it, the scientists, and then they would learn, oh, global warming is a thing. And then they would go on to that because they figured out through science that global warming is a thing and not global cooling. How scientists think about climate change right now is completely different than how they thought about it, how they thought about global cooling at the time.
1974. Yeah. Here's Wikipedia. Global.
This is look at this fucking graph. Look at this. This is a great graph. There was two theories at the time over was global warming a thing or was it global cooling? Was that a thing? And throughout the entire time, global warming had way more peer-reviewed papers about it. So it was just one of many theories. You can have other theories about things like global cooling. That's the whole fucking point of science, is that you have different opinions that come in and try and see who won. And guess what? Global warming won. It was the thing that people were like, you know what? Actually, global warming is an actual thing. That's what happened.
Century, fewer than 10% were inclined towards future cooling. Yeah, I'm gonna question that.
Again, it gives him a fact like that, and he's like, nah, that's not fucking, that's not true. Why? What about it isn't true other than the fact it disagrees with you?
While most papers predicted future warming, sure.
They did. Look at the fucking graph, dude.
Atmospheric carbon dioxide in the 150 years from 1850 to 2000, with a consequent warming trend. The actual increase in this period of 29%.
He's just reading something that proves that global warming exists, by the way.
Regional cooling effects of a slowdown or shutdown of thermohaline circulation, which might be provoked by an increase of freshwater mixing in the North Atlantic due to glacial melting. The probability this is occurring is generally considered to be very low.
How does this disprove climate change, by the way? Saying that global cooling was like a theory at one time in the 1960s, does that disprove that climate change exists? And there's like more hurricanes, there's more natural disasters, the temperature is rising, stuff like. How do you explain this? What's your explanation for all of this? Because it is happening. There are more hurricanes. The temperature is rising. Why is it doing that? Scientists agree that it's global warming.
Yeah, not a conspiracy theory.
What's not a conspiracy theory? That global cooling existed or that climate change is fake?
I mean, and now, now the science is all the scientists agree on everything crap, and clearly they're not wrong about, climate change.
Scientists can be wrong, but it's not like they all believed in global cooling and then they all jumped ship to global warming.
They were wrong in the past. They were wrong 20 years ago.
That's a dumb argument. Scientists have been wrong before, so they're always wrong now is a dumb argument. The science that we have now, I would trust a scientist 100 times more than I would trust a random person on the street or a conspiracy theorist.
They can keep up, and the idea that climate change has nothing to do with politics, has nothing to do with governments or anything like that. I mean,
climate change doesn't care if politics exists or not. Climate change is a thing if all governments disappear tomorrow. Climate change is still a thing. It wasn't made for politics.
Al Gore and John Kerry, politicians, not scientists.
Dude, don't even get me started about Al Gore.
Are saying things. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain.
Politicians talking about climate change doesn't disprove that climate change exists. Who cares?
It's just crazy.
What's crazy? It's happening. I'm sorry to tell you. I know it's a very sad thing, but because of people like you that don't believe in it, we're not doing nearly enough to um, avoid it.
Which clearly has nothing to do with the government, even though the U.S.
Who is arguing this? Did Dave say climate change has nothing to do with the government? Or are you trying to disprove climate change by saying that it has to do with the government? You could probably go to the US Department of State and find a section about oil. Is oil only about the government? I don't understand.
I mean, of course this stuff is political. This is objectively political.
It doesn't have to be political. You are the guys that are making it political. If everyone just said it existed and we moved on, no one would be talking about it politically. I still don't know what point he's trying to make here. Who cares if it's political or not?
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Denial of basic.
Oh my god. He doesn't even know. Whatever.
To wield an agenda that is in opposition with science, one must popularize the notion that science is wrong and evil. Universities.
He's about to talk about how Dave can't use the word evil because he's an atheist. So it's like, what do you mean by evil, Dave?
Nobody says that. Nobody says it's a complete straw man. Nobody says science is wrong and evil. There is clearly a dogmatic nature to science. Or a better, let me rephrase that. There's clearly dogmatism within the scientific community and academia. And as an atheist, you have no objective standard for what is evil.
I fucking knew it. It doesn't matter if he has an objective freaking evil thing. People use words, however they want.
So it's irrelevant because what you think is evil.
You can't just get rid of his entire point by saying, well, you're an atheist, so you don't know what evil means. People can use words and people can still understand what they mean by those words. You can't just throw out an argument because he's not a Christian.
Only 14% of professors in our survey identified as Republicans.
He probably has a different reason for that, why that is, but my explanation for that, why that is that, like I explained before, the more educated you are, the more left-leaning you tend to be.
Oh, there's no dogmatism within academia. There's no political agendas.
No, there isn't a political agenda. The smarter you are, you tend to be left-leaning. That's it. Maybe you come in, like, they're not purposely hiring left-leaning people to, like, teach your kids to only believe in climate change. That isn't happening. You get smarter, get left-leaning.
It goes without saying that religion is a primary driver of anti-science mentality.
Yes, this is where, I mean, it's just so hilarious that people like Dave are so anti-religious, they're anti-Christian. It's one of the, science and religion have been going at each other for forever.
Well, in modern day, science and religion disagree a lot. Like about when the Earth was made or evolution and that type of thing. But I think back in the day, most hospitals and the foundation of universities was made by Christian people. I know that, but that doesn't really disprove modern day the difference between religion and science.
Except the fact that where are we? Oh,
look at that. Yeah, back in the day they were made by Christians, but that doesn't disprove the fact that they're against each other in modern day.
What do you know? Harvard was founded by Christians? Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of hospitals were also founded by Christians at the time, too.
That you say are anti-religious or, that are just completely contrary to religion, even though
universities nowadays tend to teach things that would go against your religion because they're just teaching things that we believe to be true at the current time, which disagrees with a lot of religion.
Because scientific progress, particularly as of late, has challenged many religious narratives, such as immaculate divine creation. This triggers fear of mortality as their narrative is eroded, and they lash out in precisely the same way as one would defend themselves against physical violence, with hostility and tribalism.
Yes, it challenges morality, these institutions and the dogmatic nature of the scientific community and atheists and
please go against his point. Please just go after directly what he said. Stop being so caught up in semantics.
There are plenty of statistics that demonstrate the average atheist, leftist, liberal has much more likelihood of having a mental disorder.
The only problem is that doesn't go anything against his main point or anything he really said.
I myself am not a Democrat, and I no longer vote Democrat out of total disillusionment with the party, as it does not have the best interests of the American people in mind. But the Republican Party is cartoonishly apocalyptic in comparison.
Yes. Yes.
Wait, he's going to bring up a lot of points about, like, bad things that the Democrats have done.
The Democrats love Americans so much. This dude, during his presidential campaign, during the last presidential election in 2020, who's a Democrat, literally campaigned in Mexico. Oh my.
A Democrat went to a different country to campaign? Okay, who cares? What does that have to do with the policies of each party? I just feel like what you said doesn't disprove his point. You brought up, like, one person that campaigned in a different country, like, this one time, and then that somehow disproves the fact that Republicans are worse than Democrats? What?
So let's get down to brass tacks. What is anti-intellectualism at its core? It boils down to three principles. 1. Religious anti-rationalism, essentially emotions over facts. 2. Populist.
Is that why religious people are so depressed and get so emotional?
That doesn't have anything to do with his main boy. Who cares if they're depressed or whatever? Jesus. He's trying to say that people's emotions will, like, lead them to conclusions about facts in life, which is anti-intelligence.
All these left-leaning atheist liberals and Democrats at universities who scream and whine and yell and can't control their emotions.
I honestly think that maybe in 2016 this might have been true, but since now, I feel like Republicans have become the more angry, sad, emotional. Like I said before, they're kind of like the sore losers and winners. I feel like before they might have been, like, a bit more intellectual, but now they're much more emotional conspiracy theorist type of thing. I mean, just look at their reaction to the 2020 election. I mean, it was 10 times, 100 times more crazy than the reaction that the left had to the 2016 election.
You know, they don't say ridiculous things and say that men can be women and women can be men. And
that's a topic of debate, and it's not a factual yes or no answer for them.
The educational sphere is not completely blameless, admittedly. Part of the disdain towards academia is fostered by the increasingly high cost of education. But this is not...
Yeah.
We can historically blame the fossil fuel industry, the tobacco...
The fossil fuel industry. I bet a lot of Dogmatic Dave fans actually believe that quote-unquote fossil fuels are created by dead dinosaur bones.
I'm sorry, but even let's going past what he said real quick. Who cares? Attack the point. His point about the oil and everything, and about the tobacco industry. Attack those. Defend the oil and tobacco industry. What cares about fossil fuels being named after dinosaur bones?
You know why they were called fossil fuels?
Why?
Why that name was promoted and so popular? Because of academia, the media, scientists. Fossil fuels. No. Literally just Google this. No, fossil fuels are not made of dinosaur fossils.
Fossil fuels aren't named after dinosaur fossils. They're named after the fossils of algae, bacteria, and plants, as you can see down there. That's what they're named after. They're not named after dinosaur fossils. And even if they were, it wouldn't matter. And also, most of fossil fuels are algae, bacteria, and plants. Most. I did a bit of research, and some, it's very small, and it probably doesn't even matter that much. There are some dinosaur fossils in fossil fuels. So be careful of the AI generated thing up here. Probably don't trust everything this says, but you know.
Science is never wrong. There's never agendas behind.
Who is claiming that science is never wrong?
Yeah, I bet.
And the agenda doesn't have anything to do with fossil fuels. They named it after the algae, bacteria, and plants. That's what they named it after, because algae, bacteria, and plants have fossils. So they call it fossil fuels because of the fossils of the plants and everything.
You know, let's just constantly use examples like Fox News. Which I'm not even some neocon boomer conservative. I don't watch Fox News because mainstream Republicans are just Democrats from 25 years ago. Look at the values and the policy.
Yeah, because that's how time works. Over time, people become more liberal. Republicans believe in some things that they kind of hold on to, like small government and stuff. Well, not Trump, but
polarizing things like climate change so severely that simply acknowledging basic science gets one ostracized.
Yes, I've already demonstrated how climate change is objectively political. The United States government is extreme.
It shouldn't be a political conversation that both parties are having. It should just be a thing that both parties agree is a thing and that we should help get rid of.
And for those of you who are reading it, Inventing Violent Intent, which is ABC News, clearly, or NBC News, clearly NBC News doesn't have a left-leaning agenda or
Yeah, and NBC, I'm pretty sure I don't even have to look at it. But NBC is like slightly left, but most of their facts and everything that they actually say probably isn't, since they're only slightly left, probably what they say isn't incorrect.
or anything like that, and isn't just a propped up gatekeeping narrative pushing just nonsense.
No, when you're only like slightly left, like like NBC is, no, probably not that. Yeah, you can probably find a little bit of that with MSNBC, but even then, it's not that much. Ooh, yeah, look at them.
Yes, as if Antifa and Black Lives Matter and group
And Antifa. It's Antifa.
Lastly, anti-intellectualism promotes being skeptical towards perceived authority while demanding that people blindly follow demagogues who are
I've seen this in this video. He has unreasonable skepticism of things that disagree with him. And then he'll just flatly say things without any evidence or proof behind them.
amplified by social media.
literally like Dogmatic Dave, literally like this channel.
We're all going, we're all saying we're like that. That's so funny. He's saying Dave is like that, and I'm saying he's like that. That's funny.
People who fall into this way of thinking will place an unreasonable level of skepticism on the body of knowledge produced by tens of thousands of scientists operating all over the world under every type of government and in both the public and private sector.
He literally just contradicted himself again. People who are skeptical of science, who operate all over the world under every type of government. Every type of government? Does that mean communist governments? Does that mean theocracies? Every type of government?
What are you talking about? He's talking about other governments. He's not talking about like different ways governments function. He's talking about like places like the US and China. He's talking about how someone will be like, oh, all these scientists are wrong, even though there's hundreds of scientists from all over the world that don't even know each other and are like individuals.
And then he uses examples that completely undermine his own belief system.
No, it's your understanding of what he's saying is incorrect. It's not him contradicting himself. You're trying to find contradictions when they're not there.
What if Trump was defending himself, Dogmatic Dave? Oh, that's right. You're a Democrat, or you're a left winger, so you're probably anti-Second Amendment.
Anti-Second Amendment. Yeah, you're a left winger, which means you hate the Second Amendment. That's not how that works. You tend to be maybe a bit more restrictive on the definition of what the Second Amendment means, but you're probably not anti-Second Amendment.
Love this demagogue.
And the culprit is not the scientific community. It's the pundits and demagogues who abuse the power of the internet to warp public perception of reality.
Like Professor Dave explains.
Like Quid est Veritas.
Who are you in your infinite wisdom and your just godlike knowledge, Professor Dave, to determine what is and is not disinformation? Who are you to?
You go outside and you look at the sky and see if it's and if someone says it's green, you can tell them that they're dumb. Pretty simple.
You have no idea. Christianity has a much better understanding of human nature. Why?
I completely disagree. Read anything from the Old Testament, and stoning people for not going to the Sabbath. that doesn't seem very moral to me. But I mean, that's what they told you to do in the Old Testament. So
Human beings are fallen, why they lie, why they're corrupt, why they're manipulative, how it happened.
my explanation for all those is probably through evolution and probably getting what you want type of thing.
You have no idea. Why would human beings evolve to be evil?
Because evil people tend to have offspring.
How do you define evil?
By what society as a whole defines as evil. Interpretation of that.
I will admit my youthful optimism has been diminished as I enter middle age, but I'm not giving up just yet.
Please give up. I'm just kidding. Don't give up.
Yeah,
I
there we
love
go.
reviewing your videos.
Heck yeah.
It's exhausting, but it is fun. I can't wait for the comment section on this video, but
The comment section is actually pretty good.
that's all I've got for Dogmatic Dave and his videos and his nonsense. We're definitely, I'm sure he'll do something coming up that's just equally full of crap as this one.
Yeah, you know what? I'll keep doing the same thing with you. If I find another video of yours that I completely disagree with and I think is crazy, I'll make sure to do another one of these.
But hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to the next one. Thanks.
All right, cool. So yeah, that was that, I guess. If he ever does anything that again, or God forbid, he reacts to my video, can you imagine if we just keep doing a reaction of reaction of a reaction? I fear though that my reaction to his might be like 20 or 30 minutes long or something like that. So if he did a reaction the same way he does, it would be 3 hours long or something. It would be insane. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we might even debate. We'll hop on Discord and then we'll talk about morality. Oh God, please no. I fucking hate philosophy. Anyways, that was it.